I want to welcome everybody to tonight's LSR7 Candidate Forum. I am Matt Baird, President of the Lee Summit Chamber of Commerce, and I do welcome you all. We love doing this. We've done this for many, many, many years, both in the springtime and the fall. We do candidate forums. So I'm excited to be able to bring this one to you all tonight. I want to welcome our candidates. Again, I want to welcome all of you here tonight. We are pleased and honored that the school board candidates are with us tonight. I want to express our appreciation to the Missouri Innovation Campus for allowing us to host this event. So thank you to MIC. This is a beautiful campus. If you've not been here, you definitely need to take advantage of it. You need to take a look at it. It offers so many things for our community. It's a wonderful partnership we have with UCM and our school district. I also want to thank our sponsors for this evening. We have the Lee Summit Tribune, Life Goal Strategies Group, Missouri Association of Trial Attorneys, and St. Luke's Health System. So thank you to our sponsors for this evening's event. When you came in this evening, you may have noticed on the table, and I see most of you have them, our candidate profile booklets. So those are booklets that you're going to see information on each candidate. Those are just simply informational sheets that I sent to all 7 candidates. It was a questionnaire as well. We didn't edit them. What you see there is what they sent back to us. So that's what you've got in front of you with the candidate profiles. Do know that the forum is being live streamed tonight on the Chamber's Facebook page. It's also being recorded. It will be posted on our YouTube channel and on our website. So that'll probably get posted on Friday, but it is being cast live tonight on Facebook. Okay, let's get into some housekeeping items. There is water on the sides of the room to both my left and right, your right and left as well. So there is water if you'd like some water tonight. Restrooms are through the back and to your right. You'll see the women's and men's restrooms. Please mute or vibrate your phone during the forum. We'd like to and try to make sure we eliminate distraction tonight. We also want to make sure that there is a little distraction that shows respect to all of our candidates. So we do ask that if you do want to record this forum on your cell phone, we ask that you do that in the back of the room. We don't want it up in the front. So no front phones. If we see phones of recording this forum in the front few rows, we're going to ask you to move to the back. If you refuse to move to the back, we'll ask you to leave. Okay, we're going to try to keep this pretty strict tonight. Let's see here. I also ask that you please hold your applause to the end of the forum. We've got a lot of questions to go through. We've had a lot of questions come through. We want to get through these. You want to hear from them. But when we start to have interruptions, applause, and those types of things, hoots and hollers, which we've experienced in the past, and we have to try to control that, then it becomes an issue. So let's make sure that we show our candidates the appreciation and respect that they deserve. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our moderators for this evening. We have Chip Dzinski. He's the current chair of the Chamber's Legislative Committee. Chip. And Rodney Lesh. He's the past chair of the Chamber's Legislative and Government Relations Committee. So we have Rodney here as well. Both very seasoned moderators that have done a number of forums for us. Both of these fine individuals are active volunteers and Chamber members. We've also got Rick Smetana with UCM. He will be the one who's going to collect your postcard or your index card. So if you write a question down, put your hand up in the air and Rick will come and he'll gather that and bring it over to the moderator's table. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Chip Dzinski, who is going to get the forum started tonight. Yeah, and I think most of you saw, but the cards are in the back on the 2 round tables. If you want a card, a postcard, it's in the back.
All right, thank you. Good evening, and welcome to the Lee Summit Chamber's LSR7 School Board Candidate Forum. I want to thank you for being here this evening. Before we hear from the candidates, I want to outline the format for tonight. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for opening remarks. We will go in alphabetical order and we'll go in reverse order if time allows for final remarks. After the opening comments by the candidates, we will have a question and answer session. Questions have been generated by members of the Lee Summit Chamber and you, the audience. When you came in tonight, there was a pen under your chair as well as an index card in case you want to submit a question. If you have a question, please write it down and Rick Smetana will come by and pick it up. We ask candidates to keep their answers to 1 minute. Both the opening remarks and answer to the questions will be timed. Once the alarm goes off, please be considerate and finish speaking. We ask the candidates to please honor the time allotments. If time permits, we will provide 1 minute to each candidate at the end of the forum for any closing remarks. Lastly, during the forum tonight, we ask that the candidates focus on answering the questions. Those that choose to make personal attacks will be warned. If a candidate is warned for a third time, they will be asked to leave and dismissed from the forum. So in alphabetical order, we will start with Kathy Campbell. After Kathy will be Stacy Cronhardt, Regina Garrett, David Grady, Kamile Johnson, Erica Miller, and Billy Peterson. Thank you all for your opening remarks. Oh, I guess we're going to start with opening remarks, right? So, Kathy, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you to the Chamber, and thank you to all the sponsors, and thank you to all of you. It is exciting to see a room full of people and know that there are people watching as well. I'm Kathy Campbell. I've served on the board. I've had the honor to serve on the board for the past 3 years, and the additional honor to serve as the board president this past year. I've lived in Lee Summit almost 25 years now, raising both of my boys up through the LSR7 school district, and both of them just had incredible educational opportunities. In my professional life, I'm an IT portfolio leader in healthcare IT. And I'm running again because I'm passionate about the education for all of our LSR7 students. I'm here to continue to lead, listen, and learn, and work hard for our students, our families and parents, our staff, and our community. I'm proud of the trajectory that we've got this district on, and my leadership as a part of that. And as we celebrate our successes, I'm also working hard to resolve district challenges, asking tough questions to close barriers and engage stakeholders in conversation to ensure our strategic direction and the decisions that we make as a board are seen in the success of every one of our LSR7 students. My priorities for LSR7 are strategic planning, continuing to partner and advance our students' educational opportunities and our district facilities. Accountability. Promises made need to be promises kept, and we have the metrics and the reviews of those to ensure that we are meeting the promises we make to our students and our families and our community. Transparency. There is commitment to stakeholder engagement at all levels, with students at the center every time. And I'm a partner through change, championing the changes that are needed in this district for sustained growth and improvements along the way. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Stacy Cronhardt, and I am grateful for everyone's time and energy here this evening. I want to start by thanking my family for all of their love and support during this journey. As a busy family of 4, juggling scholastics, work, and extracurriculars, my husband Chris is currently supporting our senior and our freshman at the first high school track meet of the season tonight. It was previously scheduled for yesterday, but Mother Nature had other plans, and I believe that most parents in attendance can relate to the unpredictability of the ever-changing family schedule. To quote the late coach John Wooden, flexibility is the key to stability. My husband and I decided to lay down our roots in Lee Summit 20 years ago, where our children have been LSR students since kindergarten. I've been an occupational therapist for 24 years and have worked at North Kent City Hospital for the last 20. Living in the district has been worth the nearly 60-mile round-trip commute for those 20 years. A topic which often comes up with my patients as they ask, why would you travel so far? Working for a nonprofit hospital organization has always been important to me, as is the ability for my children to have access to the opportunities that Lee Summit and LSR7 provide. The students' academic, scholastic, and social journeys have inspired me to be in this space with you this evening and serve as the models for the big part of my why. In the past 20 years, I've witnessed the strengths as well as the challenges of the LSR7 district. We have an invaluable staff of talented educators, with 86% of them having advanced degrees, as well as dedicated classified staff in our 29 buildings. My children have been blessed by the dedication of so many of them at the 4 buildings that they've attended. I will work to represent the voices of all students, staff, families, and community stakeholders from all perspectives and experiences to address those challenges. I have the opportunity to bring my professional experience as a collaborator to listen to all. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to thank the Chamber and thank you for the moderators and all the audience for being here. I know it's kind of taking your time this evening, and I appreciate that. My name is Regina Garrett. I'm running for the LSR School Board. Just a little bit about myself. I and my husband have lived in Lee Summit for 14 years. We have 2 children. My oldest is 13. At her 3rd year, she was diagnosed with sensory processing disorder. And this is something that kind of set me on this journey of how I was going to be able to get her acclimated to school so early. She was in physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, and then it was time for preschool. So I was advised by a relative to look into the Great Beginning Early Education Center. And that is kind of what started me on my educational journey with my daughter. It was the best thing that could have happened. I was able to put her into a preschool where she was able to get the special care that she needed, as well as we were also having both of our children into the Parents as Teachers program as well. So on through their education, we have gotten through a lot of the educational programs in Lee Summit. The Summer Learning Institute as well is another one it's done wonders with my kids during the summer, of course. I'm going to say it keeps them busy for sure, but it also keeps them, going with their education. They don't forget it. So that has been really important to me. I've been invested with my children's education from day one. And I just want to continue on that journey. I feel like we have a lot of strengths, but there are some things as well that we also need to focus on. Now that we're past the pandemic, we need to focus on the basics. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dave Grady. In 1988, my first wife and I brought our 3 children to Lee Summit, built a house here, and made this our community. The primary reason we chose Lee Summit was because it was widely known we had the best schools in the state. And frankly, I'd like to get us back to that standing. Great schools provide high property values, low crime, businesses bring jobs to the area, but the main thing is good students get an opportunity, all students get an opportunity in a good school district to get a good education. And that's the primary reason that I want to get the focus back on education and get our academics up. A little bit about me. I'm a tool and die maker by trade, machinist, and everywhere I worked, I seemed to get promoted. And it's largely because I could just work with other people. We have a problem, get the people together and let's figure it out, let's work it out. So I've been a plant manager, I've been a director of manufacturing operations, I've been in charge of CNC mill lines and so forth. And about 10 years ago, the community college called me and asked me would I come and head up the machining department. So I left industry. It was a substantial cut in my base pay, but I wanted to give back to the younger generation, and I've never regretted it. It's been fantastic teaching young people, and actually some older people. But I teach machining at the community college level. I understand how schools work. I understand what's needed to get things done. I'm able to work with people. I find that in leadership, when you have a problem, you gather people together who have a stake in it and get their opinions, get their ideas, and then you work out a solution. And then as a leader, I implement that solution, and it's worked very well for me in my career. So I was looking forward to tonight's forum. I'd like to get the word out, and I want to thank the board or the chamber for having us.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Kamile Johnson, and I'd like to say thank you to everyone for being here this evening, and thank you to everyone who is live streaming. I come to you 16 years ago from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'd like to say thank you also to those who have showed empathy to me when the Eagles lost the Super Bowl this year. So in Philadelphia, I was surrounded by a community of people who saw to it that I was successful in getting a public education. I believe in public education. They help us achieve what we call the American dream. What I want to do here in Lee Summit is ensure that our teachers can provide that same service to the students in our great school district. They are responsible for such great matriculation rates for college. They are responsible for people going directly into the workforce and going into other trades that are so important for our Lee Summit community. We want to keep talent here, so we have to support the talent here. And we support them with being fiscally responsible and looking at our budget to pay them appropriately and all the other people in the school district. I didn't have to wait for a levy transfer to know that on day one when I wanted to run, I wanted to support compensation for our staff. They are the key to success. They are the key to closing the gaps in some of the challenges we're seeing with our testing scores, supporting the teachers. What's also important is supporting our students, making sure their mental health is well taken care of. You have to be a whole person every day to give your all. That means eating, sleeping, drinking water, and again, taking care of your health and not just your physical health. I want to provide an equitable experience for our students so that they can do this. And I plan to leverage my doctorate in pharmacy to take care of the whole person, including the teachers and the students. We can look at many things, and I appreciate you having me here tonight. I look forward to your vote.
Good evening. My name is Erica Miller, and I want to say thank you first to the Chamber for hosting this forum tonight. Thank you to all of you who has taken time out of your very busy schedules to be here with us. And thank you to my amazing family and friends and all the amazing people I've met along this journey that have lifted me up and encouraged me. It has meant so much. Especially my children, Ella, Charlie, and Nathan, who are a big part of my why, and all students here in the district. I decided to run for school board because I believe that each and every child deserves to be healthy, happy, and get the resources that they need to be successful in life. As a parent of a child with dyslexia, I have a fundamental understanding of the challenges that are faced trying to navigate our special education services in our district. In our household, it was daily tears during homework and frustration and angst of a parent who just wanted to help her kid succeed. I want to streamline our special education services so that no families have to jump through the hoops and go through the challenges that we did. As a licensed family therapist, I have over 20 years experience helping in the community, children and families navigating a variety of issues, including mental health. And our young people are struggling. They're struggling. They need services that are available to them 24 hours a day in order to support their growth and mental health. I have a plan to put programs in place so that they have 24-hour access to mental health services at their fingertips. As we go along in this journey this evening, I look forward to sharing more about my why and why I want to serve my community in this way. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I know it's busy this time of season, and to get out on your busy schedules and to come and meet all of us and see what we have to say means that you care about the community. Before I introduce myself, I want everybody to take home one word tonight, and that is literacy. Even if you don't vote for me, I want you to understand that literacy matters more than anything, and you're going to hear me talk about that a lot tonight. That being said, my name is Billy Peterson, and I'm running for the Board of Education in LSR7. What I would like to see is a return to academics and literacy. I can bridge the communication gap that we're seeing and the perspectives that we're not seeing filled and the voices that we're not seeing heard and the concerns in the community. I'm a military veteran and a husband of 14 years. I have 3 young children, a 5-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a 7-month-old. Additionally, I serve my community by serving in the children's nursery in my church. 2008 was a big year for me. I moved out from my mother's care in 2008, or I graduated from high school in 2008. I married my high school sweetheart. I joined the military. All of these things happened for me in 2008. I actually moved out from my mother's care well before that in 2006. So I had people in my community that helped me succeed, and had I not had that outreach, I wouldn't be here today before you running and seeing the issues of common literacy and reading and writing, orthography that we're not seeing being taught in the schools, and children just being left by the cracks, or and falling through the cracks and left by the wayside. We are focusing too much on the high achievers through rose-colored lenses, and we're not focusing on the people who are not being able to succeed through literacy.
All right, thank you all for your opening remarks. We would now like to move into the next phase of the forum, that being the question and answer portion.
So for everyone here, by a show of hands, have you attended or watched a school board meeting in the last month? The previous 3 months? 6 months? Any additional meetings prior to that? Great, thank you. We will begin questioning with Stacy. And how have you been involved with LSR7 before deciding to run?
Great question. Well, I am working on 13 years and counting of having 2 children in the district. I have a senior and a freshman, both at Lee Summit West. And I have been routinely active in the classroom, as well as with my children's extracurricular activities. I've recently had the opportunity to learn more about the Struggling Readers group, and that is near and dear to my heart, as my oldest was diagnosed with dyslexia and dysgraphia and an auditory processing disorder in kindergarten. And like many parents with children that struggle with literacy and finding the resources necessary, that is a cause that is near and dear to my heart. And I hope to bolster that and work more toward that on my time on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Regina.
Thank you for that question. Well, I kind of stated this in my introduction, but with my daughter having sensory processing disorder, that got me involved very early on with the Great Beginning Early Education Center. Parents as Teachers was another program that I was involved with, and as well as kind of helping out with the classrooms. We also did PTA reading. It was a fundraiser for reading. Reading is something that I really want to champion. My son recently has a 12-week intervention reading plan, so there's something that's a start for him because I know he's behind in reading and writing and spelling. This is something that I noticed after I attended the Struggling Readers event and saw some of the similar signs that they were recommending or that they were talking about. So this is something that I'm continuously on a journey for, and I want to champion the Struggling Readers program.
Thank you. David, how have you been involved with LSR7 before you decided to run?
Well, as I mentioned, we raised our 3 children here, and they all did very well. All got a good education. My oldest grandson just graduated from Lee Summit North last year, so I still have pretty deep roots in the school. And I've noticed some things coming up in the district that have not been so great. And I was talking with some neighbors, and one of them said, well, David, I'd love to do something about it, but I've got to take kids to practice. I've got all these things to do. I can't run for the board. I can't do something like that. But I would support you if you did. And I said, you know what? I'm willing to step up. To me, this is probably going to be a commitment of about 15 to 20 hours a week. And I'm willing to make that commitment because I think our children are worth it. I think our school district is worth it. And I think we can make the changes that we need to get us back up to that tip-top ranking.
Kamile.
So my involvement prior to running for school board, I was attending voting rallies because I wanted to know what was on the hearts and minds of the people in my community that was new to. I have a sixth grader who goes to PLMS and he plays the saxophone. He's in band. So I participate in quite a few social activities with my son. Anytime teachers need school supplies, I'm right there providing them for them. Also, I have attended some PTA forums or some PTA meetings as well. So my involvement has been that one of more social, but as I become social, I learn about the other things going on in the community and in the school district. So those have been the things that I've contributed prior to deciding to run for school board, and it was the impetus to me running for school board.
Thank you. Erica?
Well, I've had the privilege of being in the classroom since day one when my children walked in the door in kindergarten. I stood up and said, I want to volunteer. And so I have been volunteering in the classroom, each of my children's classrooms, throughout their years. I also have participated in PTA, being on several chairs of boards, planning those fun Halloween and Valentine parties that your children enjoy. And I'm a champion for children, I'm a champion for teachers, and so I'm always looking for ways to support them. I'm a Girl Scout troop leader of 9 years and have had 2 different troops going through our schools. So I love being in the classroom, I love being an advocate, and so I've been doing that long before I decided to run for the board.
Thank you. And Billy, how have you been involved with LSR7 before deciding to run?
So I moved to LSR7 in January of 2020. As Providence would have it, it brought me in right before everything shut down. Since then, I have worked in every election in the Jackson County Election Board, working in the polling locations, serving in that way. I have 3 young children. My 5-year-old will be of age very soon, and in the military. We were taught mission-driven success, use data and resources to critically analyze the situation or threat and neutralize it and deter if you can. So I witnessed through the data that was publicly available to us that I'm able to look at and research that the literacy rates in our district were lacking. And then as I was watching the board meetings, either live or in person, I noticed that the district representatives were showing the data through the top tier and not the bottom tier who were failing. So we weren't showing the data correctly.
Thank you. Kathy?
I started, when my boys started in elementary school, participating and volunteering, always with that focus of building relationships with staff, teachers, the principals, and other students and families. And so building relationships, making connections. In middle school, when the boys got there, served the lemonade at the dances, anything I could do to help and just build those relationships. And then in the high school with PTA, robotics, booster club, football, wherever my boys were engaged, that's where I was engaged. But I especially enjoyed that PTA because that really served all the students. And we worked really hard at the high school level to help parents with those connections, because sometimes that communication gets a little bit more distant between the student and the parents. So helping parents navigate and make connections was always really important. Part of our family values was you build the community you're a part of. And so my boys were raised with that, and we've volunteered all along the way.
Thank you. Our next question will start with Regina. What do you believe should be the first priority of the Board of Education? And if you are addressing an issue in your priority, what measures do you believe board members should take to remedy the problem?
Thank you. Well, since we do have a tax levy proposal on the ballot, I believe that would probably be the first order of business. I understand that Team Lee Summit has already made a proposal, so that's something that we will have to address if we are on the school board. I believe that our teachers work very hard and they deserve a competitive salary. We want to retain and recruit great teachers in our school district. We have a lot of great teachers. I've worked closely with them, with my daughter's IEP, and the supportive staff that they have. Everybody's been great that I have been exposed to with my daughter's IEP plan. So I look forward to, thanking them for all that they do in making sure that they get a salary increase.
David?
I think our primary thing ought to be to, as quickly as possible, get the focus back on academics, okay? We have some fantastic programs. You're sitting in one of them tonight. This center is just fantastic, the way it helps children prepare directly for the workforce, prepare for two-year college, prepare for four-year college. So this is a fantastic program, and a lot of our really high-achieving students do very well coming through this building right here. We have some other very, very good programs. I was at the first robotics competition last Saturday. That's just amazing. But I think we've also let some things slip. And so as a board member, I would want to put the focus back on education and help these students who aren't the high achievers become high achievers, or at least become proficient. Okay, at least become proficient. I would like to see them become advanced, but let's at least get them out of that below basic and basic category.
Kamile?
Can I ask that you repeat the question?
Absolutely. What do you believe should be the first priority of the Board of Education? And if you're addressing an issue in your priority, what measures do you believe board members should take to remedy the problem?
So I believe one of the first things the Board of Education is to do is support the superintendent. We need to bring high challenge and high support, as he is our employee. He can be the one to help lead the charge with us, decreasing these gaps in literacy, increasing the mathing scores, so we need to support. If I were to get on school board again, my first order of business would be talking about how do we get this pay increase and how do we maintain the pay increase. Again, not just because we have a levy. We need to maintain and grow the budget so that each year we can evaluate paying our staff appropriately and making sure that we retain them by continuing to pay them appropriately and not having to wait for a measure such as this to take care of them. Those are the things that I would make a priority, and I would absolutely do that by supporting our superintendent and listening to the community, and that community includes teachers.
Erica?
Well, one of my first priorities as a board member would be to address retaining our amazing teachers. It's no secret that across the country, teachers are leaving this profession in droves. They're exhausted, they're underpaid and underappreciated, and that would be my first focus. That levy transfer that's available with that $5 million that we'll be putting into our operating budget, I think that's the key to getting those starting salaries up so that we can become one of the top districts paying our teachers like they're the top school district. I also want to advocate the teachers are the backbone of our educational system, right? And so we want to give them opportunities for professional development, also collaboration time. I don't know about you, but at my job, I love being able to collaborate with my colleagues. That helps me to grow. Professional development is important and it helps them to grow and be at their best for our students.
Billy, what do you believe should be the first priority of the Board of Education? And if you're addressing an issue in your priority, what measures do you believe board members should take to remedy the problem?
I believe the core responsibility of the Board of Education is to provide high-quality academics. At its core, literacy, once again, is the core responsibility of the Board of Academics, or Board of Education in academics. According to data from DESE.mo.gov in 2022, 43% of our students are below basic proficiency in language arts skills. So that is a failure at our core responsibility of the district. What will we do to help all of those students who are falling below that line? We need to introduce evidence-based structured literacy intervention programs at the Tier 1 level. We need to ensure that children aren't being pushed to tier 2 and tier 3 because we can't solve the problem at the tier 1 level. There's a disparity on how literacy affects socioeconomically students, so we'll get into that.
Kathy?
I hit on some of my priorities in my introduction, so I'll jump over to board priorities. And these board priorities we set every year at the beginning of the year together. And they really set the strategic direction for the district. So we have 3. Increase the achievement of every child through a focus on innovative practices, student well-being, and enhanced accessibility to educational opportunities. Strengthen communication that builds engagement, collaboration, and confidence with both internal and external district stakeholders. Meet each student where they are by utilizing an equity lens in all decisions, actions, practices, and resource support. I'll give you a few examples of these that we've achieved and are still continuing to work on and strive for. So with our real-world learning, in the elementary we have Explore, middle school Ignite, high school experience, where people are getting hands-on experience in the real world working with businesses, with our multi-tiered systems of support, and we'll talk more about those later.
Stacy?
Much to agree with Kathy and to talk about the 22-23 Board of Education priorities, but delving into the route that we need to get to is getting back to being able to communicate. I don't think it's to surprise of any that we are in the midst of an incredibly divisive time. And we have brought politics into the classroom, and we've lost our focus of what is important in this district. And that is to provide our students with the best educational opportunities possible and to meet them where they are at so that we can produce productive, contributing members to society, because they truly are our future leaders of tomorrow. So until we can come to the table and bring all of our experiences and all of our perspectives, but also remove our biases and be able to work together, I think that is what's going to be needed for change going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Almost leveraging off of that, David, this question will start with you. Currently, when you file to run for school board, you don't pick a political party. Do you support the current, that is historical trend, that public school board elections should be nonpartisan? And please explain your answer.
Thank you. Yes, I do. I have my own personal leanings, but I think whenever it comes to a school board election, they ought to be nonpartisan. We ought to keep it that way. I actually had somebody help me with some paperwork and didn't get mine quite filed with the right letter on it, but I corrected that. And I do fully support the idea of nonpartisan elections for our school board.
Thank you.
I do support, nonpartisan elections for school board. I believe as we bring politics into these discussions, it causes for more divisiveness. And when we're divisive, we can no longer move in the same direction in order to be successful. We have to learn to disagree without being disagreeable. So I think that we should maintain nonpartisan, and I think, again, the focus should be on the children. At the end of the day, when we sit at the kitchen table, we want what's best for our kids, regardless of the politics and what we believe in. And that's how we should address things in the school board. The best for the kids, they are our future, and they're going to be the people running Lee Summit one day if they come back.
Thank you. Erica?
I believe that school board races should be nonpartisan. Listen, our kids don't care about red and blue. They don't care what side of the line you're on. They just want to know that they're cared for. They want to know that you're going to be there for them no matter what. They want to know that there's people on the board that care about their education, that care about them belonging in the classroom, that care about them being included, and that care about their education. So there's no room for Democrats and Republicans and party lines in the school board.
Billy?
So I believe that school board elections should be nonpartisan. As most have stated here, it's obvious this is about the children, this is about education. There are always dollars that are being sent down from the federal and state government that usually have earmarks attached to them. So I would encourage everybody to maybe look into where the school board spends your tax dollars to ensure that the school board is remaining nonpartisan and where they're placing their tax dollars. That's the most important thing. So yes, the candidates have to remain nonpartisan, but we need to remain sure that administration as well as school board members are remaining nonpartisan in the application of your tax dollars.
Kathy?
I believe strongly that school board elections should be nonpartisan. We serve every student. We serve every staff member, and we serve every community member. And when I say every, I mean it. Each person should be treated with dignity and a sense of belonging in all of our work that we do in service to our students. Completely nonpartisan. Thank you.
Stacy?
I absolutely agree with everyone here that school board elections should definitely be nonpartisan. I know that in the past and currently there are conversations being held in Jefferson City and talks to potentially move school board elections into November during general election when very politically charged elections. And I think then we'll lose our focus. We'll lose our focus. Students aren't political. Yes, there are all political affiliations in our district, and they all should be heard, and they all have a place at the table. But bottom line, education is not a political thing. Thank you.
Regina?
Well, I believe and I agree that the election for school board should be nonpartisan. I've tried to maintain my campaign as nonpartisan as possible. I don't use any political tools for fundraising. I just simply use what everybody else is using, Venmo and PayPal, good old check and cash. So I've tried to stay nonpartisan. I believe that the children it's more important. We don't need our politics within the school. It just divides the kids. As far as divisive language goes, I have heard a lot of that. And as a future school board member, I would not use that partisan or divisive language in disagreeing with anybody. If we just disagree, I would never call them out and call them a name. It's just not appropriate. So I respect all opinions, and I want to invite everyone because everyone matters. Thank you.
Our next question, we'll start with Kamile. Do you support the school district's task force that was created to review books for inclusion or exclusion from district libraries and curriculum? Please explain your answer.
Yes, I do support it. I believe that we have the experts at the table to make these decisions. That means if there's teachers at the table, if there are librarians at the table, and they are going through the processes and procedures that have been set before them, that they should be making these decisions, and I approve that. I feel that way. I also think that when they're considering these books, they're using their code of ethics, the librarian's code of ethics. They are keeping the student in mind in terms of there are privacy issues. And although we want to know what's going on with our children, I completely understand that. They are going to be introduced to the world, and a lot of their introduction to the world is through books and through education. So I think, yes, I do support how our district handles inclusion and exclusion of books because we're relying on their expertise. I'm a pharmacist, I do medicine, teachers should teach, librarians should library.
Erica?
I do agree that the policies we have in place to navigate the appropriateness of books works. And I, similar to Kamile, agree with the expertise of our librarians. They go to school. They're experts at their field. They do follow. I was surprised as I've been talking to the community, and I've been able to talk to librarians and talk to teachers, and I didn't know that they had to follow a code of ethics, just like doctors, just like therapists do, but they do. And so I respect their expertise, and they're educated professionals that are bound by their code of ethics to provide the best of the best resources so that our children can be educated. So yes, I agree.
Billy?
I think the intent of the task force is great. I think the selection process is lacking. To my understanding, the superintendent single-handedly selects all the members of the task force, of the committee. I'd like to see that responsibility expanded on. We could have more perspectives in that selection process and have more voices on that committee that's vitally giving their opinion on a lot of material that gets challenged by the community. Something to take note is the libraries in our area turn over about 2,000 books a year, as I understand it. So if the libraries are not being accused of banning or censoring material in their process of removing material on a normal turnover basis, I don't think we should be calling concerned members of the community likewise book burners or censorship on the basis that they are worried about certain material that legally now fits the definition of pornography in the state of Missouri.
Kathy?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely, sure.
Thank you.
Do you support the school district's task force that was created to review books for inclusion or exclusion from district libraries and curriculum? Please explain your answer.
Thank you. So I first want to address, policy guides us, and our district follows both state and federal laws. We do that. In the board policy KLB and the process KLB AP1, which are all available on the district website, when we have complaints, we follow that process. Right now, we do have some complaints, and we're following that process. It's a little bit different because there's not just one task force. There are multiple task forces that have been set up to address the complaints that we've received, because it's been quite a few complaints. And so they are working through that process. The selection of that committee is actually done from volunteers across all of our committees. So we have a Citizens Action Committee. We have a Parents University that parents went through this year. We have a business roundtable. There are multiple committees that we have ongoing throughout our school district that have all of these volunteers engaged. We'll work through that process, and we'll continue that. Thank you.
Stacy?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Yes, I do support the task force, and having an opportunity to speak with some of the members of our library science department, as well as community stakeholders and parents that I've talked to knocking doors, this has been an incredibly hot topic. And I think anyone that has followed any conversation threads online or in the community can speak to that as well. But really, we are so incredibly fortunate to have one of the most educated, qualified, and storied library science departments in the state, as well as the resources in those libraries. The difference between curriculum required texts as well as texts that are not assigned reading all go through, I think, rigorous evaluation before they are placed in the library. And I think there's a good system in place for parents to have control for their students as well. Thank you.
Regina?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure, absolutely. Do you support the school district's task force that was created to review books for inclusion or exclusion from district libraries and curriculum? Please explain your answer.
Well, I would have to say this is probably the first year that I've heard a little bit about this task force. I understand it's volunteering with parents or citizens in the community of the school district. I have heard from parents that wanted to be on the task force that were declined. So I just would like to see more inclusion. I would like to see it expanded to other parents in the district. I think that as a parent of two, I do get concerned about some of the materials that are in the book or in the library, and I know that their Chromebooks have restrictions and filters for words or topics on their Chromebooks. So my disagreement would be that if they have filters and they have restrictions on their Chromebooks, there's probably some topics of books in the libraries that also should be restricted or have some way of notifying parents.
David?
Thank you. You know, as a college teacher, I've learned that if you want to get good results, you raise the bar because people will strive to meet the bar. And my department is very successful at school for that reason. And I think over the years, I'm not saying the process is bad, but I think the standards have been put too low to where we've allowed things into the library that never should have been there. So I do support getting those things out of the library. And frankly, if we can't read a book to a group of adults like this because it's gross and disgusting, I don't understand why in the world we would check it out to a juvenile. Some of these kids are 14 years old and they're able to check out things that are just outright pornography from our library, and I think that's wrong. I believe in parents' rights. If you want to buy pornography for your children, I'm not going to stop you, but I don't think Lee Summit R7 should supply it to the children whose parents don't want them to have it.
Thank you. This question, we will begin with Erica. Do you support tax dollars following students to private schools? Yes or no? And if yes, how do you see that impacting the process affecting public education?
I don't support school vouchers or tax dollars following children to private education or parochial schools. I do support a parent's right to make the decisions that are best for their family on where their children go to school. However, I believe that public tax dollars should stay within the public schools. Public schools have the responsibility to educate all children, all of them. And no matter their background or educational abilities or hurdles, so I believe that public school deserves to be fully funded.
Billy?
So I believe that public education dollars need to follow the students, okay? I believe you have to think outside the box on this one, all right? There are students in failing districts in our metropolitan area. If they switch school districts, or if we have an offering here in our school district, should they be afforded the opportunity to have their tax dollars follow them so that they can get a good education out of that failing school district? Okay, not everybody has the opportunity to be in LSR7, all right? We have a pretty good school district. Yes, we have a lot to do when it comes to literacy, but we have great offerings at the top. We really, really do. For our highest achievers, the sky's the limit in LSR7. Unfortunately, we're just not looking at the ones that need help and bringing them up. So the question of whether I support it is I support helping all kids in any way possible.
Kathy?
So we've agreed as a society that it's very important to have an educated populace. That's important to us from a societal standpoint. And part of that is our public education system. And as been mentioned, we serve every student. And that's important that we have those dollars and are able to provide that education to them, including things like multi-tiered systems of support, so that we are evaluating what the needs are, what the supports needed are to help all of our students. I believe that parents should select whatever educational opportunity for their family they'd like to pursue. So if someone wants to go to private school or even homeschool, I support their choice. But I also support the fact that our tax dollars have to go towards our public education system because it's important that we serve every student, and that's the way that we can accomplish that.
Stacy?
I do not believe that public tax dollars should go toward funding private or charter schools. I am completely in agreement for parental choice. Absolutely. A parent should have the choice to send their child within their resources to the school of their choice. That may be a private institution, that may be a religious-based education system. But in my opinion, public funds should go to support public schools. The public school has the ultimate responsibility to produce and ready contributing members of society and the future leaders of tomorrow. The systems that are in place in public institutions make sure that all students are allowed to attend and they don't have the opportunity to pick and choose like some private institutions do. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Do you support tax dollars following students to private schools, yes or no? If yes, how do you see the impact of that process affecting public education?
This is one of those questions where you have to look at it from both or two angles. With parents that have left the district because we've lost quite a few students, it's been usually reasoned away that those students left or the parents took their children out for religious reasons. There was some that went to homeschooling and because they couldn't put their kids through private school. And so they're kind of left, you know, some people were able to do the homeschooling, some were not. I just believe that every parent has to have a way to best educate their child. I believe that if over time, curriculum and policies have changed. That's the feedback I'm getting from parents. And if we could change that and focus getting our kids educated back to the basics, then we would be the choice school for parents to come back and new families to move here.
Thank you. David?
I do support tax dollars following the children. And the reason why is some people look at our statistics. I don't do much on notes, but here's something from U.S. News and World Report. Our schools, Lee Summit North, 41 in the state. Lee Summit High School, 46. Lee Summit West, 52 in the state. Is that what you like? College readiness, 23.1%, 23.9%, and Lee Summit West is 15.2% college readiness of our graduates. So if people decide they want to pull their kids out and put them in a school that focuses more on academics and really puts the money and the emphasis into education, why shouldn't their tax dollars go with them? Also, if we fail as a district, why should we get to keep the money?
Kamile?
I support public funds used for public schools. That's where I stand. I stand firmly on that as a product of public schools. I also support parents being able to make the choice for their students and for their children. You should absolutely have that choice. But when it comes to tax dollars, we're talking about transparency and accountability. We are talking about taking care of every child. There are no discriminatory practices of allowing the student into the school or removing them from the school. So, again, I support public money for public schools because you talk about transparency and accountability, you don't get that necessarily when there's a private board running a school. And I think we should keep this. You want to keep having forums like this. This is why we need that public money, so that you can have these public forums and ask us questions and figure out who the stakeholders are in the schools and around the schools helping to decide decisions for the children in the public school system.
Thank you. This next question starts with Billy. Are you satisfied with the curriculum currently being utilized by the district? If not, what changes should be made?
So I think that as I've not been through the entire curriculum, every single page, but as I understand, looking at the scores that our students have that are reported to the state, it's clear to me that we are lacking in the areas of science, arithmetic, and language arts literacy skills. We have upwards of, in most of those categories, 50%, right around there. Some categories are higher of our students not in basic at the basic level or below basic when you group them together. It's an enormous amount of students. So I think we need more interventions at the lower levels. From what I understand is that it's terribly hard to fail your students, even if you want your child to be held back. It looks bad on the data. So schools are pushing failing students through and not addressing the problems and maybe remediating training to get them literate by third grade.
Kathy?
Thank you. I'm going to focus on the curriculum. I'm really proud to be a part of the LSR7 school district. We have amazing administrators and teachers that develop the curriculum for our district, and they do a phenomenal job. Most recently, we've seen new curriculum development as we've talked about our Amped on Algebra program. So not just taking algebra from the book, but actually using algebra in a business setting as an entrepreneur and learning those algebraic equations as a part of that learning. That's new curriculum that has been developed, as well as our geometry construction curriculum. That's very exciting. So now you can choose to go to a geometry class and learn it from the book, or you can go out and build a shed or a small house or a birdhouse with students to learn geometry in construction. Another new curriculum is with our Paradise Park. All of that outside areas are going to turn into urban gardening and urban ecosystem opportunities. Really exciting stuff, and all great curriculum developed as a part of that. Thank you.
Stacy?
I am in support of LSR7's curriculum. As a parent of 2 high school students, I have had the incredible opportunity to witness them grow and thrive through elementary, middle, and now high school. And my daughter, who's now a senior, she is now in her 2nd year in this incredible facility, studying healthcare-related professions through Summit Tech Academy. We have incredible educators that stay continually abreast of new and innovative strategies and continuously learn to teach and to teach well and to improve curriculum. It's an ever-evolving process. There can always be an additional focus on that foundational literacy, particularly at the younger elementary age, and that can always be a part of the improvement that could happen to make sure that our children are ready for the future and for their next step in life. Thank you.
Regina?
You repeat the question, please.
Absolutely. Are you satisfied with the curriculum currently being utilized by the district? If not, what changes should be made?
As a mom, I'm going to be speaking from experience with my kids, who I have one in middle school and one in elementary. Although my daughter's doing really great with math, I am proud of her with that. I did struggle a little bit when they were at home online learning with their math curriculum. The math curriculum that is being taught today is a little different than what we're all used to. And going out into the businesses of Lee Summit, you can talk to people that want to hire Lee Summit, youngsters coming out of high school or college. And some things that they might report is, they weren't able to make change or something like that, or they can't do quick math in their head. So, that may not be everybody, but there are some that struggle. And I think the reading proficiencies, they need to be, we need a streamlined reading program for our kids. Thank you.
David?
I would say as far as curriculum goes, what we need to do is get the best teachers together for each core area and have them tell us what are the best practices. What can we bring to the classroom that would make it better? I'm not an expert on all that. I've written curriculum for machinists and tool and die makers at the college level, but that doesn't make me an expert at math for second grade or reading for second grade. So I would get some of our teachers together. We have a lot of great teachers here. We have a lot of great coaches here. They poured their lives into my children and grandchildren, and I think they're our best source for upgrading our curriculum. I got a complaint again this week from a teacher who said that there's too much political stuff that is ingrained into the curriculum, and they would like to see it be math. They would like to see it be English and not be politics.
Kamile?
I support the curriculum, and I think what we can do to make some improvements is support our teachers. They need increased professional development that can help them create additional curriculum or those that they think will be successful for our students. We need to make sure we have enough teachers so we can have small classroom size, because that can impact the learning as well. And we do that by retaining the teachers and by also hiring highly talented and accredited teachers. And in order to do that, you have to pay them well and pay them continuously. I think we also have to provide the teachers with the resources. If the teachers are stating there's things they're doing or things that they need to increase literacy, to increase math, or even to increase understanding what I call the new math, then we need to provide those resources to them. We need to listen to the teachers. They are the ones in the classrooms. So yes, I agree with the curriculum, but I also agree with giving our teachers what they need.
Erica?
I agree with the curriculum. As a parent of a high schooler, I have watched her have to navigate which courses she's going to take. And we have some amazing advisors that helps children to navigate what their paths are going to be. So for my oldest daughter, she's been on a path with advanced coursework. And so I think that's fantastic to have the advanced coursework. And then you have the other paths for other types of learners. I also believe that, as the world continues to grow, we have to stay relevant. So making sure that our curriculum is staying relevant. Our teachers are amazing. They're so creative. I've so enjoyed watching my children's teachers be creative with the curriculum and making sure that they're able to adapt the curriculum to different learning styles. So supporting our teachers is at the crux of all of that, and making sure that they have the resources that they need to be successful in their classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is a two-part question. And I want you to make sure you understand it's different than the question we asked you before in regards to the dollars going to private education. Because on March 9th, the House of Representatives of Missouri passed House Bill 253 and passed on to the Senate a proposal for open enrollment for schools in the state of Missouri. So, do you support open enrollment in the public school system? And the second thing, how should the school district prepare if the legislation on open enrollment is passed? And Kathy.
Thank you. So open enrollment, I think the main thing about open enrollment is what's under the covers, because there's a lot of concerns there. There are concerns about transportation. There are concerns about dollars that follow. And if it's state dollars that follow, we need to know that close to 70% of our revenue comes from local dollars. So if the local dollars are not following the student, that's going to leave a huge gap and an impact for us. So the first part of that question is, my concern is what's in the bill. Secondly, we need to talk as a community about if we're supportive of being one of the districts that might accept open enrollment students coming in. And again, I think we need to be really clear in understanding what the budget impacts of that are. And the second piece is getting that understanding of the budget. And what do we do as a district to prepare? We need to understand the details of what's in the bill. We need to look at our budget and see what those impacts are and plan for that, because it could be significant.
Thank you. Stacy?
On its face, I do not support open enrollment because we really wouldn't know what that would play out to be. There are too many questions and too many whys. How the board would prepare for such a thing to occur would really be, looking into what are our budgetary impacts. Do we have the resources necessary to handle that and to do some predictive analysis of what to expect if that were to occur? Because bottom line, it could potentially detrimentally impact the educational system for our children. Thank you.
Regina?
Well, this I'm not really that familiar with. I would have to have more information to be able to give a definite, and I also worry about budgeting. With anything new, I wonder how it's going to work budget-wise. So I would need more information to be able to come to a conclusion of whether I'm for it or against it. But that's where I'm kind of neutral right now.
Thank you. David?
Thank you. This issue came up here just recently, and I actually made a Facebook post on it. This bill, H.R. 253, that allows for students in failing districts to transfer to a contiguous district that is not failing. Somebody said we might get inundated with students. We wouldn't know what to do. Well, the bill clearly states that you do not have to hire teachers, you do not have to hire staff, you do not have to build more classrooms in order to handle transferees. It also has a whole paragraph in there that says the board or the district that's receiving students will set the number of how many students they will take, and it clearly says that number does not need to be greater than 0. So we decide how many we would take. If we said this is not good for us, we just say we're taking 0 this year. If we said, you know what, we got a school over here and it's got declining enrollment, we might have to lay off teachers, why don't we take some students from a failing district and help them out?
Thank you.
So with open enrollment, my concern too would be budgetary and how would we fiscally be able to handle that. When I think about the government, I think about how convoluted things could be. This sounds like it could be a logistical nightmare. And we would have to come up with a good strategy in order to ensure as people come into the district, and if we're not hiring more teachers, we're not getting more resources, then those same things we were just talking about impact our curriculum and our literacy and our scores. We have bigger classrooms, we have less teachers. Imagine corralling cats. That's what I'm thinking, a classroom. I grew up in Philadelphia. We had classrooms of 30 and 35. Just imagine that. So again, I'm not gonna just flat out say I'm not in support of it, but what I will say is I'd have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb before they gotta vote for yes for open enrollment.
Well, I have not read House Bill 253. But as far as open enrollment, so the first thing is I would want to read it. And like Kamile mentioned, I'd want to go through it with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that I understand what it says, what's in the fine print, what's underneath the covers, all the things, so that I could make an informed decision about what my position would be. And if it does pass, I think my concerns would be budgetary. My concerns would be transportation. My concerns would be the impact to our current staff who, when I've talked to teachers during this process, they are already feeling so overwhelmed. They're already feeling so stressed. So to add more kiddos to their classroom would be a challenge for them. And so that's what I would want to be focused on.
Billy?
So I would be for open enrollment. I would hate to be able to have to tell a high achieving or otherwise student in a failing district that we have a great district and opportunities right next door, but because of this imaginary line, we're going to hamper your ability to succeed into the future. So I would be for it. How do you prepare for something like that? Well, you do have to read the bill. And in the bill, as David mentioned, is that 0 quota requirement. that allows for the district to look at their budget, and out of the generosity of our community, which is an extremely generous community, we can help other students that need help. There is a reimbursement for the transportation costs in the bill, as I understand it. So that's something that if we budget for transportation costs and we exceed what we budget for, we can get reimbursed from the state. So there are ways that we can make these children's educational dreams come true, and I would want to work to make that happen.
Thank you. This next question is for Stacy. The Blue Springs School District recently announced it would be placing security officers in every building in the district over the next few years. Does Lee Summit need to do the same for the sake of school safety? And A, are you satisfied with the district's steps to ensure safety at our schools, or should more be done? Provide specifics.
I think this is an incredibly important topic. It doesn't take me standing up here to remind everyone in this room of the horrific things that have occurred since the 90s, since I was in college when Columbine occurred. So following in the steps of Blue Springs, as a board member, I would really like to look at the logistics of that and how that would factor into hiring and personnel and budget, but not to put money over safety and the safety of our children, because they have to have a safe space to learn. They have to feel in control and comfortable in their learning environment. And how that would happen is that possibly looking at the levy transfer and the increased budget, operating budget, the increased expense that we may need to cover increased security officers in our schools. Thank you.
Regina?
Can I repeat the question, please?
Sure. Blue Springs School District recently announced it would be placing security officers in every building in the district over the next few years. Does Lee Summit need to do the same for the sake of school safety? And are you satisfied with the district's steps to ensure safety at our schools, or should more be done? Provide specifics.
I was just speaking with an officer recently, and I let him know that I feel safer with, knowing that my kids are in school and there are officers there on site. I see them every morning and even after school at my daughter's middle school. Now, I don't know if it's needed throughout the district, but I do think that there are things that need to be addressed, that not all students feel safe, not all teachers feel safe, and so I'm not sure really what that would look like as far as more officers being involved, maybe female and male at each school, just because I believe that there are things going on that I'm not used to. I don't recall having when I was in school. But things that need to be addressed that I think have been presented to the board, but nothing has ever, that I am aware of, has been resolved.
David?
I really hope we don't get to the point where we have to have lockdown schools. I mean, it may happen and it won't be our fault if it does, but I hope we don't get to that point as a society and as a community. I do think there's a benefit to having a real police officer in a school. We have them where I work, and I don't feel like I need to carry a weapon to protect myself in the building. We have police officers there, and police officers are well trained, well equipped, and they're there to handle problem situations. Hopefully we don't get to where we need them everywhere, but if we do, I'd like to see us budget it and put them in there. A police officer, of course, has the right to put their hands on someone and restrain them, whereas a teacher may not, or an administrator may not. And one of the main complaints I've heard from teachers and resource aides is the lack of discipline in our schools, and teachers are feeling threatened. A teacher was pushed down the stairs by a student.
Kamile?
I would support putting security guards in the schools. I have a security guard where I work in healthcare. The reality is today's climate shows us that our kids need to be safe. If we're safe at work, if we're safe when we go through the doors of the Stansbury Center, we're safe when we come through here because of security. I think we provide that same safety for our children. But what I do believe, as an African American woman, that these officers need training on trauma-informed care. They need training on crisis management and some training in mental health to make distinctions between behavior that is out of character or just a discipline issue, and to make distinctions between some children who have some behavioral mental issues. So I think that is very important. While I support that, again, with mass shootings and things that are going on, we have to consider it. It is the climate we live in today. And I'm not familiar, honestly, with our current steps, but I would look further into it to answer additional questions.
Erica?
As a mom, when I walk into my kids' school, and when my kids leave the door every day, I think about their safety. But the good thing is, I think that in all the years that we've been in the district, I don't feel like they've ever felt unsafe in their schools. And I feel like what we have in place is good. I'm open to having officers in the schools if we need that, if we decide that we need that. But we do already have policies in place. So when somebody walks in up to the school, you have to buzz in. The person in the office sees your picture. They see a video of you. They ask you why you're there. You come into the door, and then they have to buzz you in. So I think that there are protections already in place to protect our students. Of course, we can always look at more ways of protecting our students.
Billy?
So I would be for putting security officers in schools. I have a military background, as I spoke to earlier. I was a nuclear surety expert, so I dealt with protecting our nation's critical assets and assets vital to national security. Our children are our assets in our community. That's vital to our national or our local community, right? These are our vital children. So I believe that we should definitely have a deterrent and get ahead of any possible issue. Just like with the use of force model, going back to my training in the military, you always are one step ahead and seeing what's going to come. You don't respond to the person in front of you as they are. You actually get ahead of what they're going to be and de-escalate the situation by getting ahead of the situation. I'm not aware of the district steps particularly, but there's always room to harden a good security plan. So I would look at that and look at hardening the security plan.
Stacy.
Kathy.
I'm sorry, Kathy. My apologies.
As long as I remember, that's the important, and all of you, that's the important part. Thank you. I talked about student well-being as a board priority, and that speaks to safety. I recently got some cards made by students, and almost everyone said, "Thank you for keeping us safe." That was a little pause for a moment. I will differentiate. Blue Springs has its own police force that are hired as district employees. We do not. We do have SROs in our middle schools and our high schools. They are there to build relationships. They do have good training, and they do follow our board policies, and that includes our discipline policies. Also, I want to thank you all as voters, because in 2020, you approved that bond initiative that allowed us to increase the safety and security across all of our facilities, every facility in this district. When we talk about that getting to the door, that's all, a lot of that is new, and it's very secure, and it's very important. We have hardened security even more this year. Bringing in Dr. Shelton was a great add to our district. We do an annual audit on security with board reporting annually and review. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will begin with Regina. How would you educate our local and state elected officials of our school district's goals and ideas and encourage their support?
I'm sorry, repeat it one more time.
How would you educate our local and state elected officials of our school district's goals and ideas and encourage their support?
Communication is really important. And I had the opportunity to actually sit in on a city council joint school board meeting. And I believe there was a lot of information that was passed back and forth that was, really good information for our city and for our school. So just to make sure that our local representatives understand where we are as a school district, it's very important for them to know the information, because as we grow, we're getting new families within the city. It's good to be able to broadcast the city what benefits there are in our school district. So I think communication as far as the state, I believe communicating with the politicians there, our representatives, showing up and talking about the bills or what is of interest for our school district.
As a candidate for the school board, I'll go sit in a coffee shop and advertise I'm going to be there, and if you'd like to come and meet me, just come up and talk with me. And when I'm sitting on the school board, I'd like to do the same thing, because I'd like to have an open communication with the voters, the citizens, the parents. I want to know what your problems and your concerns are so that I can bring them to the rest of the board and we can work out problems for them. And I think that communication is a key, and this goes the same with people in Jeff City. We need to communicate with them regularly what our needs are and what our priorities are and what our maybe farther down the list things are, and get on their radar and say, we need funds for this, we need funds for that, we need support here and there. And I think if the board scheduled regular times when we went down and met with our elected representatives, we'd have to take a day off to go do that, but I think it would serve the district very well.
So I would say road trip. We're going to Jeff City. We need to sit down with them at their coffee shops and at their restaurants and let them know. Sometimes we vote for people who think they have our best interests at heart, but they really don't know what we need. They hear from the masses. Maybe they find out on the internet. Maybe they learn from surveys that were done. So I think we need to go there, and first we need to tell them what we need, tell them what we want, tell them what doesn't work for us, and we need to have those conversations. I think going back to having physical conversations matters too, because 90% of communication is body language. We can send letters, but it's something different when we're showing up on legislation day. As a pharmacist, I go to advocate for low medication prices and access to therapies all the time in Jeff City. They're probably tired of seeing me, and I'm tired of the drive. But I'm going to keep doing it, because that is how we make change. We have to get at these tables. We have to get in front of them and let them know what we need. And if we don't get what we need, we vote.
Well, I believe that building relationships and partnerships, that's my superpower. So that's where I would start, is trying to advocate to build relationships with our local government officials, our business leaders, and other community organizations. And that would help us gain a better understanding of what they're thinking, and that would also let them know what we're needing as a district. So I think it starts with communication, it starts with relationship building, and those partnerships are key in our community. Thank you.
So it starts with really, what does a board member do? We are liaisons for all of you. We're here to represent you. We may not represent every single one of you. You may not vote for every single one of us, but together, as board members, we represent the community collectively. And so without having a good finger on the heartbeat of what your constituents want from you, you're not going to be able to convey that message to these local leaders as well as the state representatives. I would want to convey a message that we are going to be improving rates of literacy for the bottom and the people that need it most, so that they will be able to join the community and be well-rounded members of society who are fulfilled in their professional endeavors, who can read at a high literate level and can be fulfilled in their lives. And I want to let them know that LSR7 is a place where you don't have to worry about whether you're getting the cream of the crop at the top, because it's cream of the crop all the way through.
Thank you. It's definitely about building relationships. It's definitely about having conversations, not just when you want something, but also engaging, building that relationship, making that connection, inviting them into our schools to see what's going on in the classrooms and in the hallways. We enjoy a great relationship with our city leaders, and I want to say thank you to any of those that are in the room or online. Mayor Baird, and all of the city council and many other leaders, city manager, as well as the other municipalities that we serve from an LSR7 standpoint. We engage and we discuss, and I love that partnership because a strong city builds a strong district, and a strong district builds an even better, stronger community and city. At the state level, we have really seen huge engagement and opportunities in reaching out and talking. And our last legislative day that was done by the CAC, well-attended community members, well-attended by our representatives and senators, and just want to say thank you because that's critical to our student success.
Thank you.
I don't know about you, but I think I'm ready to road trip to Jefferson City with Kamile. If you've been following any of the discussions of the proposed House bills currently being read and deliberated on the floor, well, now they're on break, but prior to that, our students' voices need to be heard. And not just heard, their faces need to be seen. People that are making laws and policies 3 hours away need to know us, they need to see us, they need to hear our stories, listen to our voices, see our faces. So I really think representation matters, and I really hope that the board has an opportunity to further engage policy and lawmakers. To my knowledge, there is a really great event coming up. The Missouri State Board Association is having Advocacy Day in Jefferson City on March 28th. I'd like to see more of that. I would like to set up regular intervals to go talk with the people that are making decisions for us so that they know the needs that we need met. Thank you.
Thank you. This is our next question is from the audience. We've already had a couple from the audience, but we're going to build on this here. And David, this is going to start with you. Currently, there is legislation at the state level with regards to transgender students in sports. What is your opinion of transgender participation in sports?
Thank you. In the beginning, God created them male and female. I don't believe there are 86 genders or 114 genders or 16 genders. Okay? There's male and female. I believe boys should compete in boys' sports. Girls should compete in girls' sports. Now, let me say this. When children have gender dysphoria and they have emotional problems, psychological problems, things that need to be dealt with, I definitely want to get them with some respectable, reliable counselors who can help them out. I don't want to push these children aside. I don't want to marginalize them, but I don't want to buy into their problem. That group has like the highest suicide rate, and that grieves my heart. It grieves my heart to see children in that situation. So I don't think we ought to buy into it. I don't think we ought to have a war on women that allows men to be the woman of the year and allows men to compete in women's sports and take the awards from the women.
Kamile?
I believe that each student needs to be met where they are. I believe in equity and I believe in equality. I believe that we vote for what we want. And this is a tough one. This is a very divisive question here, I'll be honest. But what I want to say is, what I care about most of all is the child's mental health and the child's well-being. And I want to make sure that they are well taken care of. And what that looks like, I don't think that's for me to decide. I don't. I think each child, it's like each one reach one. Each child is an individual. And if that's what the legislature decides to do or decides not to do, then again, you get out and vote and you look for something different the next time around.
Erica?
Well, I think that at the crux of this, we have the responsibility to make our schools inclusive and safe places for all students, period. And we need to make sure we're educating ourselves. We need to make sure our teachers are armed with the information and knowledge so that they can support our students. And statistically, our LGBTQ youth are the highest when it comes to suicide rates. So we do need to be paying attention to that. But the basic feeling of belonging is crucial to development, and that's where this conversation, I believe, starts.
Billy?
So, very difficult topic to discuss because, like everyone stated, we don't want to discriminate against anybody. Everybody has the right to feel a sense of belonging and inclusion, a dignity about themselves, and the self-esteem that allows them to feel like they fit in. You have to hold a mirror up to this to really make it make sense, though. We can't allow a female, born biological female, who has the endocrine system of a female and the hormone system of a female, who has worked their entire life, who will never be able to outlift a biological male or perform at the level of a biological male because of testosterone levels and a different endocrine system. And so it is very difficult to come up with a blanket answer for this. I would just hope that the board doesn't have to create a blanket policy and that this can be handled on a case-by-case basis with the parents, you know.
Kathy?
Thank you. So, you've probably heard in some of my answers, my first thought is always, what's our current state? Currently, Misha has guidelines around this that govern all of that for sports, for high school athletics. And so it was my understanding that when this legislation was coming up, that the sponsor of this had not reviewed that or read that. So I think that would be step one. What do we currently have? What are the guidelines that we're currently under and that we're following? And let's make sure that we don't make laws just to make a law, because that doesn't make any sense. The second, I will also say the safety of our students is critical, and we need to consider that in all of our conversations around this space. Thank you.
Stacy?
I think first and foremost, transgender people do exist. And while I don't know the current status of what Misha feels about this is in regards to athletic participation, but in my own personal experience, the transgender people that I know in my life did not embark on that very important decision in order to dominate athletic performance. I feel as though that is a trope that's been placed on misinformation and disinformation on the topic, and people fear what they do not know. So having the opportunity to learn more from the people that go through the process and the support that they need from their family and their community, it is not a flippant decision. The suicide rates in the trans population are often linked to their lack of support in both family and community. Further information and education across the board is vital to make sure that these people feel safe, included, and important in their lives. Thank you.
And Regina?
This is a very hard one. As a mother who has a special needs child, of course, I would always want my child, both children, to be accepted, included. But when it comes to sports, we've already seen the examples happening in college. On the college level, where women are basically their thunder's being stolen. It's just kind of, we should be empowering women, and I don't believe that this is the way to empower women. Just tell them to be quiet and accept it. And I just feel that there should be maybe alternatives, some other way of handling the transgenders in sports, but I just don't think physically, they can compete the same. They're built differently. The hormone levels are different. They're going to dominate on women's sports.
Thank you. Well, to leverage on that, and this question will begin with Kamile, do you believe enough is being done to address the increased problem of mental health with our students? And other than the support that's being provided by school counselors and therapists, what else do you think we should do to address this serious problem?
I think we can always do more. Our society is realizing every day just how important mental health is. This wasn't something that was always considered in schools. There was a day and time where you were supposed to check your feelings at the door, whether that was for work or whether that was for school. Those days are gone now. You are a whole person. I know as a pharmacist, you have to take care of the whole person. What we have to do is, again, consider the counselors that are currently on staff and the programs they have and what resources they think we need in order to increase the mental health and well-being of our students. I think we also need to consider these students come to us from families, and maybe the families also need resources. So what can we do as a community to increase the number of resources to the families? Because while the needs of the child may be met in the school, they may not be met at home, and we need the parents to have access to those resources.
As a licensed family therapist, this is at the crux of the issues we're facing is mental health with our young people. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among our teenagers. We need to do something about that. One of the things that I'm proposing is that we enact a student assistance program. Most of you are all probably familiar with employee assistance program. Well, this is the same thing except for our students. Our students need access to 24-hour services. Why? Because let's face it, the issues of life, the challenges of life don't happen between 8 and 5. So I am proposing this student assistance program. How would we pay for it? I'm glad you asked me that. Well, there's grants that we have amazing grant writers in the district. That's what I found out. And we can write grants. There's funding out here for this. And I've already reached out to organizations and have some proposals. So I am looking forward to sharing that with you.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Do you believe enough is being done to address the increased problem of mental health with our students, other than the support that's being provided by school counselors and therapists? What else would you do to address this serious problem?
As others have stated, I think we can always do more to address mental health. Mental health is not just a school problem, it's a national problem. We are one of the most medicated countries in the nation. And mental health for our students, as Erica mentioned, doesn't stop at school, it's in the home. So I would like to see the district make more effort to incorporate parents in a whole mental health approach, and get parents involved more so than try to maybe keep parents out of the loop with mental health situations. That being said, it's great that we can find grant money to help with that. I do believe that literacy and education and academics core should not go by the wayside for mental health. And those things can actually help improve mental health and well-being if you know that you are meeting those milestones that the children's whole life is centered around education for the longest time. So to know that you are good at that and not failing will improve mental health.
Kathy?
So current state, we have school counselors, of course, but we also, in the past year and a half, have added Burrell services. So currently, and the plan is to have this in every building, but currently we have in our buildings the available of these counselors to meet on site with students. So a parent doesn't have to take off work, go pick up their student, go to the counselor's office, take the half day, and all of that impact. That's happening right now today on our campuses. That is paid for either through the parent insurance or the Medicaid option is available as well. So that is a great way that the district is partnering with our students and with our parents. And school counselors, that partnership with their students and with the parents is so important. And all of our counselors work so hard at building those relationships. Are we doing enough? I don't know that we could ever do enough. This is a crisis. And it's serious, and it's impacting our students, and we've got to continue to look for more options and better options. Thank you.
Stacy?
I think we've all had an opportunity to take a mental health check recently and during these past 3 years, and that is not isolated to us as adults. That especially extends to our family and our children, and they're going through incredibly difficult times in their formative years. So vital importance and more can always be done for students. And how does this happen? And how do we make that work? I've had an opportunity to speak with counselors, both former and current. And the one thing that they say to me is, there's so many kids, and this is such a growing and amazing district, there's just not enough of us. So having additional resources, additional people to speak with, and services that extend outside of the basic school day, because mental health challenges do not just occur from the first bell to the last. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Do you believe enough is being done to address the increased problem of mental health with our students, other than the support that's provided by school counselors and therapists? What else would you do to address this serious problem?
Well, from my experience, I have had my son who has been talking with a counselor, and so I think that we might have some services that are good. But I, as a parent, want to be a part of it. I don't want to just let somebody else take over my position as a parent and be able to sign away my rights to a therapist or anything like that. I would like to be included and like to have options and like to, for my family, be able to decide what's best for us. I think that there could be more. What I understand is that there are more children that are suffering from mental health right now. And so maybe it is something that we could have more counselors on site at the schools to be able to service all the children that need it.
Thank you. David?
Thank you. As a college teacher, I deal with a lot of high school students who come to me on the dual enrollment, dual credit program, and I see what's going on at the high school level, and I'm sure it's even worse even in other grades. I think we are going to have to just deal with the fact that there are a lot of problems out there and the school's going to have to be more involved in them. My concern is I don't want to take the money out of education to handle that. I would rather see that we use the Medicaid benefits, use the health insurance benefits, use grants, as Erica mentioned, and things to fund that type of thing and not just fund it out of our regular budget and then take money away from education. The need is definitely there. I've had so many students just in traumatic situations I never had to deal with as a child. I always got a good meal. I always got a good night's sleep. I didn't have to deal with my dad being arrested for drunk driving as an illegal alien and my mom having passed away already.
All right. Thank you all. That's going to conclude our question and answer portion right now. And so lastly, I would like to give each candidate an opportunity to provide any closing remarks. Please keep your remarks to 1 minute or less. We will reverse the order we used during opening remarks. The first person to close is Billy Peterson, and so on. You'll have 60 seconds for closing remarks.
As a father, a military veteran, and a husband of 14 years, I have gained a wealth of experience and knowledge that I believe would make me an excellent candidate for the school board. Throughout my career in the military, I developed strong leadership skills and gained experience instructing and training others. I understand the importance of transparency, trust, and accountability in any organization, and I am committed to ensuring that these values are upheld within the school system. Overall, I believe that my unique combination of experience and dedication to the community would make me an asset to the school board, and I am committed to putting the needs of students and families first and working collaboratively to achieve our shared goals in the community of educational excellence.
I don't take this opportunity lightly. I look forward to serving my community as a board member. I know there are many frustrations that we're facing between students not being heard, our staff being underappreciated and underpaid, and then the disconnect from transparency between our district and our parents. I want to be the one that advocates for all, pulling us together for the betterment of our district. My desire is to see our students and educators thrive. We all have something to add to the success of our community. When we work together, our district wins, our community wins, our teachers win, and most importantly, our students win. I believe that each and every child deserves the opportunity to be at their best self, learning in a learning environment where they are supported, and our educators also deserve to be valued. So I would like to earn your vote on April 4th. Thank you.
Kamile?
Thank you again for having me here tonight. I stand here in front of you as the American dream realized. I grew up in the inner city. I grew up in a neighborhood filled with poverty and drugs, but I had a community and I had a village around me, like the ones of you sitting here today, that helped me to be successful. I am a lifelong educated person and I am an educator. And what I'd like to do is see diversity and equity brought to the school board and to the district for our teachers and our students. We talk about people pulling themselves up by the bootstraps. Well, when you come knock on my door, if I gotta give you long straps, short straps, if I even have to give you the boots, I want you to know that you can come to me and people can come to me, and I'm gonna give the resources necessary for our teachers and our students to be successful the way our board says they should be.
David?
I appreciate everyone coming tonight and appreciate the chamber having us. And I'd like to just wrap up by saying, I want to raise the bar. I want to get the focus back on education. I want to build our academics up. I want to raise test scores. And I would say this, we're not going to raise the test scores of those high achievers that have the 4.2 GPAs and things like that. We're going to raise our test scores overall by getting the children who are not achieving, the ones who are not proficient. We can help them. We can raise them up, and that will raise our overall test scores. That will get us back up to the #1 status, okay? I think that's huge. We can't just let people fall through the cracks, go out of here not proficient in math, not proficient in English, not proficient in science, and say we did a good job. That's not a good job. So we need to focus, get our focus back on the academics. I'm David Grady. I would appreciate your vote on April 4th for the school board. Thank you.
Regina?
Thank you all for coming here and taking that time to come and hear what we're all about. My name is Regina Garrett. I'm asking for your vote on April 4th. I am a mom who has much experience in the school district and know all of the great programs that we do offer. Because of this, I can help bridge the gap between the district and parents. I want to be a voice for parents that have gone unheard the last few years, as well as teachers. Teachers are so important, and I know that they are the ones that know what works and what doesn't work. So I want to be able to provide a platform for students, for parents, and for teachers, because our district cannot function without all three participating. And I also wanted to make sure that our teachers are being fairly compensated, that they get competitive wages, that we can retain and recruit great teachers. So vote yes for the tax levy transfer. Thank you.
Stacy.
First, I want to thank the Chamber and for everyone in attendance this evening. I have earned the endorsements of the LSNEA and patrons of the district, and now I want to earn your vote on April 4th. Let's work together to improve open and transparent communication amongst all members of the district and to ensure our dedicated and immensely qualified educators, as well as our classified staff, are fairly and fully financially compensated for the amazing work they do. We need to financially invest in retaining and recruiting qualified, diverse staff in order to continue to make LSR7 a destination district that reflects the community which it serves. Most importantly, let's work together to further ensure the equitable education for all students in the district. I have the unique perspective of a mother having 13 years of experience and counting in the district at all school levels. And in closing, my mother's recent unexpected passing during this campaign has been devastating, and thank you so much for the support I've received in both the highs and lows of this journey. She was an incredibly proud Nana to her two favorite LSR7 students and my biggest champion. Thank you.
And Kathy.
Thank you. I bring stability, strong leadership, and experience. I'm an experienced board leader, focused on building relationships and collaboration. I respect and value differing viewpoints and expertise as I gather information, evaluate options, and make decisions to take this district to the future. I'm a change champion. It's important that we ensure people are engaged to be part of the change. As we know, in a growing district, there is going to be change. I'm also not afraid to ask tough questions to spur discussion or debate, to accelerate us to get to our shared goals. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and keep working hard for all of you and for our students in LSR7. In closing, I want to thank the Chamber. I want to thank all of you. I'm last here tonight, and I'm last on the ballot. If you have more questions about me, I have information on the table, or go to Kathy4LSR7kids.com and reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for being here this evening and participating in tonight's forum. Give them a round of applause. Thank you. We want to again thank the Missouri Innovation Campus for their hospitality at this evening's sponsors, Lee Summit Tribune, Life Goals Strategies Group, Missouri Association of Trial Attorneys, and St. Luke's Health System for partnering with the Chamber. We appreciate our audience for attending this evening. We thank you for your engagement and interest in being part of this important, worthwhile process. Lee Summit Chamber has done its part by introducing the candidates to you. Now you need to do your part by voting on Tuesday, April 4th. And forget, we now have no excuse absentee voting, which you can now go to the Board of Elections and vote. So thank you again, and give them another round of applause.